Elvis agrees with the no fees stress policy, but wants equity in a system where whatever quota is given per student in a public university, college of education, nursing training, same is replicated in the private universities. Let me hear what your initial thoughts are on this particular policy.
Well, firstly, the policy is good. In order for Ghana to grow, I think every single government, every kind of leader, whether at the national level or even within a company, will tell you that when you add value to your human resource base, i.e. education, you'll see the benefits of it. Every country which we use as a barometer, the Singapores, the Malaysians, even Ghana, if you recall, during Kwame Nkrumah's time, he made it a policy that the North had to catch up with the South in terms of Ghana by making sure that there was free education in the North, well before it became nationwide under the MPP government and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Why am I putting this as a preface to your question? Education has to be the leveler, and it is also the springboard for countries and individuals to actually achieve their full potential. So the policy is excellent. I like it because it's going to allow those students who haven't gained admission. You find that maybe the first year, because of fees, academic fees, this is what the government is paying for, they drop out. If they don't drop out, that worry, you know, in terms of parents and families having to pull together semester after semester, year after year, to at least give you that funding. There's a psychological pressure on that student. Now that can be lifted, hence the no stress fee policy. So a perfect policy. The idea is that it can be scaled up, subject to resources. We have a student loan scheme that is in place to at least alleviate the financial burden, so that not having money should not prevent you from accessing money, which you then pay at a later stage, and that's been done for some time under the MPP government. So it's good. I like what's happening right now in the space. It's going to add to our human resource, not only potential, but our growth. An educated nation is what will distinguish you becoming prosperous or poor. And at the tertiary level, we started it, of course, at the senior high level. Now at the tertiary level, these are the nascent examples that I think will help Ghana chart a progressive way forward as we build the nation, and you build it with people. In terms of Elvis's proposal that you should capture in the private sector, I vehemently disagree.
Why?
Private are for profit. Do they share revenue? That's number one. The private schools and tertiary institutions, when they make their money, I'm not talking revenue, but profit, they get taxed.
But the target here is for the students.
I understand, but I'm coming. I want to make my point here. You have an opportunity to apply to the public sector. Elvis has mentioned some valid reasons that maybe it's not just about money,
Vacancy.
but vacancies is one, and then also maybe the quality. But it's the quality that led you to go there. I would like to say that up until now, the quality of education in Ghana is improving, unless somebody can tell me otherwise. And how can I explain this statement? Look at 2009 to 2016, the WASI results. Now, anybody can come on this platform and say, oh, my party is the best, my government is the best regarding education. Do you know how we can distinguish which administration or government delivers the best?
The WASI results.
The WASI results. That is the barometer. And 2009 to 2016, look at the core results. I'm talking maths, English, social studies, and science. In English, you were getting something like 32%.
No, that's maths.
It's maths. Thank you, you have it. And then it went up to around what? Was it 53? English went up to 73%. I'm talking from 2017 to 2024. So I'm just giving you some timelines. So it's all about making sure that if indeed education is improving, i.e. the outcome, what they then is making some parents still choose the private. Because you can see the trajectory. If indeed quality is an issue, and it has been for some time, and for that reason you want the best for your child, so let me go private, and you pay for it. Okay? There's nothing stopping anybody in the private sector applying to the public sector. And you've seen that a lot within the free SHS when it was opened up, Nana. That parents saw the advantage and said, let me, in fact, enroll my child or my ward into the public sector. And you saw the results. I think 1.3, 1.5 million difference of the expansion leading to the double track that we had in Ghana. So I vehemently, and I say that, yes, we are here for all Ghanaians. All Ghanaians, yes? I mean, it's up to us to somehow, how can I call it, distinguish between the public sector and the private sector and whether government should fund private sector areas. I don't want to compare apples with oranges. But it's like you taking an Uber and your brother taking a trotro. You are at liberty to take the Uber. Am I right? You can also take the trotro as well.
Yeah.
You can't say to me that because there's no space in the trotro, that made you take the Uber constantly. What should government do? Should government also say, when we are reducing, let's say for argument, government doesn't have the space to reduce trotro fees, but it does through GPRTU. Can government then force Uber drivers and the Yango drivers and the Bolt drivers to reduce their fares? Okay, I just want to expand the argument of the danger of when government now wants to either subsidize or fund a private area. Now somebody say, but Ibrahim, this is education. It's education, but that's how the world is. We have to understand that there are limits to government, because when you expand it too much, it becomes unsustainable. It becomes, and the last thing you want to do...
But my challenge here is that the policy intervention is to ease the burden on students, not for the private universities to make profits. Do you get where I'm coming from?
I'm listening.
Yes, the target here is the student, not the institution. You get it? So I mean, the analogy you're making, and the example with the trotro and the Uber, I'm finding a bit of difficulty.
You shouldn't find it difficult, because what I'm saying is this: you want government to fund a private area. Am I right?
To fund a Ghanaian attending a private university.
Okay, why are they attending the private university? Are they paying fees?
They are.
They're paying fees, okay? But those fees that they pay, who benefits from those fees?
The private organization.
So when government pays for those private students, who gets the money?
Of course, the organization, which is private.
Okay. So how is it what I was saying is difficult for you to understand?
But the intervention here is that we are paying fees for students to reduce the burden on them.
There's nothing, and I'm all for that. I am all for, but this is the reality in which we live.
Because these students may not have had vacancy in the public institution, not necessarily.
It's not because it's their preference.
Because it's a preference.
I'm coming. Let's understand that some people it is their preference. Let us not be naive, Nana and Elvis, to think that it's because there's no vacancy. That's why I went to private schools. No, let's be fair.
There are those who prefer.
Good.
But year in, year out, we see the numbers that complete school, how many qualify for public tertiary education, but are unable to have due to lack of access.
Sure. And for that reason, they are made to go. But where do you, then you have to do a means test to understand that, okay, I applied to a public institution. I got the grades.
Yeah.
Okay? But the place is full.
Right.
So I was forced to go to private. Am I right? So therefore now government should, once it's extending it to the public, extend it to me as well, because it's a student. But that is the reality, and that's what I'm talking about, the sustainability. You know, isn't it good if we could give free housing to everybody? Everybody. Inshallah, one day we'll get there. Yeah, but it has to be sustainable.
Right.
Once it's not sustainable, and these are the hard decisions, important leaders make impossible decisions. And unless we manage certain interventions in a methodical and realistic way, it will become a pie in the sky. It sounds good. You start it, then it falls. And then you wonder, why did this policy not succeed. The reality is that not everybody can get in. So what you're saying is, okay, government, how much will it cost, okay, to accommodate the, for argument's sake, 1 million tertiary students, let's just put a figure on it, who applied but couldn't get in, okay? So let's say on average, let's say maybe a university can hold 100,000 students. So 100,000 times 10 is 1 million, isn't it? So you need 10 universities to create that space to allow for students to come in, isn't it? Good. That's where the focus should be. Instead of funding the private sector, see how best you can expand the public space. Use the money to expand the public space so that those who then apply to public institutions, government can use this money to fund the public. Because when we pay the private sector, they're going to expand their institutions, and we wish them 100% well. 100% well. Because in the private sector, results are delivered.
Right.
Let's not be shy about that fact, okay? Results are delivered. And oftentimes you can see a clear dichotomy or distance between somebody who's gone through the public school and the private school. In terms of the learning, you know, it's the pedagogical measures or implements are totally different.
The outcomes are different.
The outcomes are different, but we're catching up in the public space.
Right.
So that's my point there. Government then has to focus on expanding the infrastructure of the public tertiary institutions to accommodate them. Because you're down on a slippery slope. We want every student to succeed.
Right.
Do you understand me?
Right.
And I think we have to be real to making sure it's sustainable.
You see, Ibrahim's point that he's making is why government is suffering. Government does not need to expand those schools. Government itself is struggling to pay and cater for those schools. If the private are going to invest to put all the infrastructure, and you put a policy and you say, the same amount I'm paying for a Legon student is the same amount I'll pay for if you go to accession. I'm not saying accession fees is 10 or 15 times Legon, so I'm paying the full fees for you.
No.
It's the best relief government can make. Look, 1999, 1990, Legon rejects 8,500 qualified students. 1999. This is 2009. Legon rejects 8,000 qualified students. 2013, Legon rejects 39,000 qualified students. 39,000. So when you look at the figures, and this number far exceed, so they are always able to take between 30 and 40% of applicants. Qualified applicants, not that they are not qualified.
Right.
You can't tell me that Legon can be expanded to accommodate all these people. The cost of even putting that infrastructure in place, hiring additional lecturers, providing it will be way above government. It will be way above government. And I'm surprised Ibrahim, we come from a family that believes in private sector, is talking this way. I think that education is one of
I believe in public sector. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm saying I'm not expected to make the argument because education is one of the sectors that is actually consuming government money hugely. So if private sector can do the rightful investment, put in the infrastructure, do everything, and will be able to run successfully and actually accredited by the right state institutions. Policies like this should rather be benefiting those institutions so that the burden on government that build more infrastructure, build more hostels,
in the public institutions,
hire more lecturers, hire more administrators, hire all this. The government will cut those expenditures.
Right.
We should be moving to situations where the focus should be in those places. So if 39,000 have been retired by Legon and they decide to look for admission in private schools, why should they be denied the same benefit that a Ghanaian student in Legon is being given? So I think that we should look at how private sector is helping government actually to become more efficient, helping government to reduce costs, helping government to focus on its core business. Education is so expensive everywhere in the world. So if we can rather make policies that encourage private sector to actually be largely responsible for the larger chunk of education in Ghana through their own investments, and then with government policies like this, it covers everybody. I can tell that government can reduce its education budget largely. Because if you say you want to provide accommodate to, like I give you 2015, 39,000 students, additional 39,000 students, which is more than the one Legon have. Do you know what they're talking about?
That's a huge burden.
The burden on government.
And this is just Legon only.
That's a Legon only in 2015. So you understand that the issue that is at stake is not about government expanding those facilities.
Very well.
It's not that government receiving the private sector as what? Stakeholders in development. And that if people have their money, they will invest, build their facilities, everything. That fee, it gives Uber and Trotro. Nobody says that. I never made the argument here. I'm saying that the same amount that you are paying for the person in Legon, pay the same amount, the same. If the person has to top up at private, that is the person's business. So if it's government collaboration, you take Trotro, and you go and take Uber. Yes, the government pay the Trotro fee. The additional fee you pay. So it's not about government going to pay all the fee for private. No, it's not the case.
Very well. Ibrahim, I'll give you a bite. Let me just say good morning to Comrade Elikem Kotoko, Deputy CEO, Forestry Commission. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good to have you. It's been a while.
It's really been a while.
How all is well?
We can't complain.
Good to have
you. And so we have hope.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes.
Ibrahim, wrap up on this and then we'll hear from Elikem on
I'm talking about sustainability. It has not been captured. That government is saying, or the proposal that Elvis is saying is that you charge X amount at the private. So we will give you Y amount. And let the students who are there top up. That's not on the table here. I understand Elvis's point, but in leadership you have to be realistic. Otherwise your idea will become a pipe dream. And when it falls down, you the leader get blamed. Because what are you looking at? You're looking at the total quantum, and I don't have the figures with me, but let's find out the number of students in tertiary institutions right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe if you go to Gemini and you Google, we'll find out. Can government realistically sustain that? We are building layer upon layer. And it's not a case of whether or not we are disenfranchising any student. You've given the figures. 39,000 were rejected. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, as I say, you can scale it up across board. Why isn't JHS free? We should ask that question now. SHS is free. There's no JHS free. You pay for JHS. So why not at the key areas?
The basic level.
The basic levels. Why are we not channeling our efforts there? You want the tree to get the fruit. Meanwhile, you won't even water the sapling. That will produce the tree, that will produce the fruit. So when we look at that top-heavy down thing, I have issues with it. And I have issues not because I'm vehemently for education. High quality education. But you have to understand the reality in which we live. That's why I just gave the Uber and the Trotro, not to somehow, water down what Elvis is saying. It's a fantastic thing. That's why I said, can we do housing for everybody? The idea is no. But then you can say, okay, why can't the private sector, let's use the same analogy, real estate can build quicker than government, and they do. Right now we have something like 3 million people, if you look at some statistics, who don't have
the housing deficit.
The housing deficit. Meanwhile, I'm sure we have over 4 million units of accommodation free right now within the country. People have apartments that are not being rented out.
Yeah.
So the private sector is already working with government in the housing sector, either producing the infrastructure that government can't do on its own. Why don't we also have that policy? If you're not unemployed, if you're homeless, government will work with private sector real estate and we will house everybody. Is that not a fantastic policy?
It is.
But is it sustainable? Thank you. So when I'm coming from that point that I'm vehemently against it, it's about sustainability. Leadership is about choices and good choices. If you don't do that, you will suffer and regret it. And the people that you went to help will rather castigate you. So where government has started is good.
Right.
They're looking at the public sector. Can they expand it to the private sector? It's about resources.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but why should a policy that is meant for all Ghanaians be my point, why should it be restricted to a public institution?
And not cut across.
The policy is not for the school.
And
the
for the
policy
students.
is for Ghanaian students.
Yeah.
Okay, going to tertiary level. So if it is for the student going to tertiary level, why didn't we look at the figures and find out whether it is sustainable? Why? See, I'm saying that the child who is in the private school who you are denying, the parents are also paying the same tax that the parents whose child is going to enjoy. Okay, to enjoy.
I want to
right. Let me hear from Let me hear from
that discrimination is what we must deal with. Because if the poor person's son is at KUST and is struggling to pay fees, but he pays his taxes every month. But you say because the child did not gain admission. To a KNUST or Legon, but find himself in maybe Central University or Adventist University or somewhere, he is not entitled to it simply because of they did not get admission to Legon or KNUST.
Which you think is not fair?
Which is totally unfair in terms of
Let's
and we should not continue this unfairness.
It's important for our viewers to understand something. Even 15 people. It's important for our viewers to understand this. Right. He said that he said that education is for everybody. Am I right?
Yeah.
I gave the example of Uber and Truffle just to capture it. Listen, transportation is for everybody. The government wants everyone to go to work, go to school.
Yeah.
Because you don't take Truffle or Uber for fun. You take it to get from A to B.
Right.
To be productive in that journey. So if education for everybody, transportation is for everybody.
Right.
So if I can't get on the truck, pay my Uber.
That argument is wrong.
That's not what I'm saying. Hold on. We're leaving Alikem out.
That argument is wrong because you can't compare Uber and truck to university education.
And
you are telling me that if I get admission in KNUST today, I should be waiting the next 10 years. That Legon doesn't give me a job. Because I cannot afford, I cannot go.
Your point is well.
That argument is made.
So we're discussing the